Welcome to Life in Sport. I'm Tariq, and this is where the stories of sport, struggle, and self-discovery come together. Because behind every game, there's a life being lived. Welcome back to the Life in Sport show, where we talk all things life, all things sport. You know what? No matter how many times I do the intro, sometimes it just feels. I still get that funny feeling of this don't feel quite natural. But you know what? We roll with it. We get on, and today I have a really interesting guest who I've been looking forward to speaking to. And I'm going to let them introduce what they're about and who they are themselves. And yeah, go for it.
Tariq, it's an absolute pleasure being here with you today. Thank you for the invite. I'm Temisan Williams, and I've been able to work in academy football for over 10 years. And now I help coaches who want to work in academies and the elite game.
Okay, amazing. It's a really interesting background. I feel like in the professional game, a lot of people are looking at what I'm about with this show is I like to look at what contributes to the big picture. Obviously, coaches is one thing, but obviously in the comeuppance of a player, no one thinks about the journey. No one thinks about the journey of a coach, and no one thinks what you need to do to. No one sees I like to think of it as like you're cooking. Do you know what I mean? You've got your seasoning here. You might char your meat. You might steam the vegetable. You know, different things with different roles that all contribute to the final dish, which is like what we see on the TV, whether it's football, hockey, or whatever. So I like to start my episodes with my guests, like with a little bit of reflection. So I asked what I've been doing recently. I asked them 3 questions. And as a bit of self-reflection, you can do it from any point of that you feel most relevant. So, question number one is, name one good thing that happened today.
One good thing that happened today was going to the gym with my wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, why is that such a good thing? Why is that so important?
Because we don't usually get the opportunity to do that. And we just happened to wake up at 3:30 in the morning.
Oh, nice.
And then we decided to go out for something. Yeah.
Okay, so following on is how did you make it happen? Sometimes it's deep, like how you make it, and sometimes it's just simple as I woke up. But yeah, go on.
Just deciding that we want to go. We love exercising, and it's part of our routine. So whenever we can go together, we just try and make sure we can do that.
Okay, and final question of that 3 is building and repeating. How do you repeat that good thing, and how can you build on it?
So repeating is definitely going to bed on time. Okay. So putting the phone away, not binge watching anything, going to bed at a good time, and then you'll be able to get up and repeat it. Simple as that. Yeah.
So yeah, just thought it's a nice way to like get a feel for
I like it.
Yeah. You know what? We've got a mutual friend, and this is who I learned this from actually. Because I was listening to your other show, the other show you were on.
Yeah. And
you said that you've done some work with Dr. Misha Jervis.
Yes.
So she was my lecturer at Brunel.
She was also my lecturer at Brunel.
So we done a seminar one time, and she asked that question, and it's been a big part of I really like it. I think self-reflection is...
It's a very nice starting question. I like that. Okay. Yeah, especially when you're coming to talk about football.
Yeah. So obviously you've coached, you've been here, you've been there. You've got your flashy places that you've been. You've got your not so flashy places. You've got the fancy journey, and then the grind. So let's talk about your passion for football in general and how that started.
Yeah. So similar to probably a lot of people, I saw football on the TV. It's about 5 years of age, and I saw Man United. So these are in the days of Sharp and Cantona and the like. And then from there, I was just hooked. And I loved playing football outside on the concrete, playing in the park. And then I also got obsessed with what was Championship Manager then, but is now Football Manager.
It's an addictive game, isn't
it? Incredibly addictive. I almost failed my 3rd year exams because I was still playing Football Manager the night of exams. So that's where it started for me. And I really feel like it continued to grow when I played with my mates outside, and you know those who you have as friends growing up, and from there it just continued to escalate to where I'm now.
Okay, so let's tie in coaching with that a little bit, and how your passion for playing with your friends and doing something for fun tied into wanting to show people that passion that you were doing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, what was actually really interesting is that when I was in secondary school, I used to write formations on the back of my diary.
Really?
And yes, and when I was year 9, I ended up being captain of our football team. And I remember there was one formation I wrote down, which was a 1-3-5-2 formation.
Okay.
Don't ask me about the details of playing that formation, but I'd put that in my diary, and I still have my diary, and I thought to myself, wow, definitely it was from that time that I think the desire, even if I didn't know, was starting out. Obviously, you get to a point where you can't now be a professional football player. I realized that. I think it was when there was Jogo Benito, if you remember.
Oh, of course.
Yes, Jogo Benito. And when I played the 3v3, I was like, okay, I thought I was decent, but there's some serious ballers out there. And that's when I started to realize, look, it's probably not going to happen. By the time I was 17, I knew it wasn't going to happen. So I then, at the age of 19, when I was doing my degree, which is actually in biomed, I decided, look, I'm going to go into football. I was going down the trajectory of being a doctor, so I'm not going to do this. I would hate being a doctor. God bless doctors, but I would not have enjoyed it myself. And so I said, look, I'm going to be a football coach. I want to try and help make the dreams come true of those who want to be professional football players. And then I decided to set myself a 10-year plan at 21. And the reason why is because the players who I was watching at the time, like your Gerrard, Lampard, Henry, I knew that in 10 years' time, there'll be coaches. So I had to really go through the detail of learning as much as I could, so that if I ended up coaching alongside them, I needed to know what I was talking about.
Of course. Why was it so important for you to set yourself a plan to get into your career path?
As a doctor, someone who's going to be a doctor, you know the plan that you're going to go down. You're going to do medicine for X amount of years, and then you're going to have to go on the ward, etc., and go from there and maybe go into GP, consultancy, whatever. And I guess I just translated that across to football. And so it started with, okay, my badges, when do I want my badges to be? Also, when do I want to start getting experiences within grassroots, but also academy settings? And that's where it started. So it wasn't anything expansive, but it just gave me a direction and a trajectory that I needed.
That sense of direction is so key if you're trying to get into an industry that's as competitive as sport and football specifically. So you're ahead of your time, man.
Well, there's no one I knew who was doing it. That was the reality, because obviously everyone around me was doing biomed, and we all talked about medicine and going into it. So when I decided to go into football coaching, I was like, there's no one. There's no one who I know around me who wants to go down this path. So if I'm really going to have a good go at it, I've got to do all the research necessary.
Was there ever a specific moment when you were on your biomed degree and you were studying? Was there ever a moment that clicked where you're like, yeah, football? Was there one moment, or was there
Yes, there was one moment.
Okay.
I was applying for experiences. I was going online to get hospitals, get their details to be able to get experiences, in preparation. And then I realized when I was writing emails to them, I was just taking off what other people had said on the internet. I was trying to just put it in my email as to the reasonings to why I wanted to have that experience. I thought to myself, Temi, this is not you. It's not coming from you. So you might as well just actually do what you want to do. And that's where I decided at that moment, no, I'm going to go down this route.
Love it. You know what? I feel like people I think it's so easy to undervalue the finding what you don't want to do. It's like, if you know what you want to do with your life, whatever it is, fantastic, great.
Yeah.
You've got an idea and that's what you're going to chase, however you chase it. But I feel like people look at it negatively when you find out something isn't what you want to do. Yeah. And I feel like that's just as important. Like, if you put your hand in something and realize, I don't like that, and you don't do it again, isn't it great that you know you don't like that, so you're not going to try to do that again?
Of course, it helps with the process of elimination.
Yeah, of course.
So that you have that laser focus as to what you're going to do. And I think this is probably, and this is for anyone, if you think I want to do 3 or 4 different things, 5 different things, you just can't sustain all of those. It's better if you focus on one thing first, and then probably you're able to branch out after becoming excellent at one particular thing and specializing.
Yeah, it's really interesting the way our minds work and how we sort of go for things and whatnot. So you kind of touched on it a little bit, but with like the 10-year plan. But what kind of other transferable skills did you find from biomed to coaching? Like, I know it sounds like a wild comparison. I feel like there must be a little something in the way you saw things.
So we had a module called exercise physiology.
Okay.
And that obviously talks a lot around the body, the biomechanics of the body. So I really enjoyed that module because it was about exercise and I could relate it to football. And then off the back of it, I went to go and do a master's in sports science. So because of the experience within the exercise physiology, I built up a good relationship with the lecturer and just had conversations with him and told him a bit of my plan. And that's where I was then able to go and decide, okay, I'll go and do a sports science master's to be able to develop my understanding a bit more around sport just in general, and the disciplines like sports psychology is one of them, continue on with the exercise physiology aspect as well. And that was really good for me because it helped with my networking massively.
So let's talk about your first time throwing yourself into the scene, your first time coaching, the first time you ever coached, the kind of structured session.
Yeah.
What was that like for you, and what were you thinking at the start?
So I reached out to loads of clubs through the FA website. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, I've got to do the volume and see who comes back. And there was a club called Hub Athletic who were attached to a church, and they took me on. And the first time I was like, wow, okay, these guys really know what they're doing. You know, they were level 2 of your like UEFA level coaches. And I thought, oh, I've got to be able to get there. And that was the first experience for me of, okay, there's obviously a level that I need to get to. And I think it was just a case of not being overwhelmed. That was just the first thing, just getting it out, talking, okay, you have to do this, you have to pass this ball to here. And it was really as simple as that. You know, this is what we're doing, pass the ball from here to here, and then just continue on. And I guess get the energy up. That was really key, just showing that passion to help encourage the players. And I was at the time coaching senior players, so some of them were older than me actually, and that was really helpful to understand how I put together sessions. And obviously they were very vocal if it didn't make sense.
How did you feel about working with people your age and older in that kind of, in the coaching capacity?
It stretched me because I needed to know what I was talking about, because they were coming to play. And if there wasn't something that didn't make sense, they would tell you in no uncertain terms. And of course, you had some who were like, oh, I think maybe you could do it this way. And then there were some who were very blunt with you. And I think that was a very good training ground for me to be able to learn straight away. And then off the back of that, I also then coached at Fulham's foundation. So then that's in schools and with young kids. Yeah.
So when it comes to like making a training session or planning a training session, because I've done a little bit of coaching as well, more in like the PE kind of route, go to schools and do an after school club in football one day, maybe do another one in handball the other day, cricket, whatever. Like if I was doing football, like I would want to, obviously I wanted it to be fun enough for them, like good games and whatever. But I'm just looking up stuff on the internet. Let's do a drill for dribbling, or a game for that involves shooting or whatever. What was it like for you planning it? Was there any detail, or like not detail? Was there any kind of method you had to like planning a session? Did you want it to go perfectly each time? Like what was that like, especially like in your early days?
So I produced a folder where I'd get, the maths paper, the gridded paper. I would draw it out. Okay. I had different colors, for the sessions and the different players, and then I would write down in the particular structure that I'd learned from my FA level 1. And then I also became tremendously obsessed with collecting as many session plans as possible. I would be, whether it's session plans that were in other languages, I would just try to get as much as possible, buy different books to try and understand from the session planning perspective. And off the back of that, it helped me up to a certain point. And it was when one of my friends who I did the masters with, is now coaching in South Africa, he said to me, Temi, just look at the game and design the session from there. And since that point, it's been 11 years now, and I've never bought another session plan book.
Interesting. So let's go on a little bit of let's use the fancy words here. Let's go on philosophy. What kind of coaching philosophy do you have? And I don't necessarily mean like Pep Guardiola, let's play it from the back. I mean like as in how you approach everything, how you deal with like the players, what like I mean as a whole. What is your philosophy when it comes to working with young people and working with
My first thing is everyone has intrinsic worth, and so I need to, every time I engage with them, try to make them know that I'm appreciative of who they are and what they can do, irrespective. It's not about the ability that they have with their feet, but actually there's something special about you as an individual. And so that's always my first port of call. And then after that, one of the things I do value is excellence. And for me, excellence starts with how you as an individual carry yourself, the standards that you set for yourself. And I think that's really important also for players to understand. So whether that's in grassroots or in academy setting, there must be a certain standard by which you keep, because ultimately you want to enjoy yourself, but if you as an individual, you're ill-disciplined as an example, then it not only affects you, but it affects others around you. And so now you're affecting the learning, the enjoyment of others. So that's something that I'm quite a stickler for. And I will always encourage players to keep to a certain standard individually, and then obviously as a group. When it comes to, if you like, on the pitch, for me, it's about just expressing yourself. Where we love and smile is when we think about players like Ronaldinho. And there we go. There's a smile already. My favourite player of all time, Ronaldinho. Didn't care if he won or lost. I just wanted to see what he did on the pitch. And those are the moments that you're like, wow, I can't believe he did this, she did this. And so for me, it's whatever that looks like for you as a player in your capacity, do that. Be bold and be courageous on the pitch. And that's something that I want to make sure whoever I'm coaching, that they are able to do that. You don't want to have players who are scared on the pitch of thinking, oh, the manager's going to say this and this to me. Of course, there's, you have a framework in terms of tactics, and there's a style of play they may have, but within that, you want the players to be able to creatively play and feel like they're kids again on the pitch and just enjoying themselves. So that's really paramount for me.
I love it. Clip that. No, I really like that answer, and it just shows the importance as the person as a whole. And I feel like with what you're saying as well, and what resonates so deeply with me is how this is stuff that you can that is valuable off the pitch. Being courageous, being brave, going for what it is you're going for, and like kind of went into that networking talk we had off camera. Like, so I feel like, I just love the holistic approach of it. I'm big on
it. It really I've realized over the years now, it gets to me when I see individuals just within themselves, in the sense of they can do more, but they just need someone to encourage them, say, yes, you can do it. That's fine. Go. It doesn't matter how it looks. Go and take this step. Be bold.
Of course, 100%. So important in the development phase of life. And I think that relatability is key when you're with young people, and no matter what kind of way you work with them, sport, not sport. Like, I feel like when you're growing up, when you're in that like 12 to 16 kind of age group, YDP. You know, hire me, player camera. Nah, but yeah, when you're in that phase though, you're kind of, for me personally anyway, I never wanted to feel different. I wanted to feel like my peers. I wanted to be like them, not like be like them, but I didn't want to be the only one that done something when no one else did it, sort of thing. And I feel like when you have that from the adult, that relatability towards an adult, it's like a lot more reassuring and makes you a lot more comfortable with what you're doing. And I think, I mean, as a young person, seeing the adult that they perceive as cool or whatever. So so let's talk about the reality of like, because getting into coaching, it's in the elite level, it's not a straightforward journey. Like, so obviously you started at the club that you mentioned, and then I've done a bit of research on you, so a bit of Cambridge here, a bit of apprenticeship there. Like, let's.
You've done your research.
If I come in blind, I'm not respecting you. Like, you know what I mean? I want to show you that I've put the effort in. Yeah. So let's talk about what kind of challenges did you face, and you think other young coaches face when it comes making their rank through the game? A lot of people think about the footballers. How hard is it to be a footballer? How hard is it to become a good coach in the elite level?
I'll be honest with you, you've got to have a car.
Yeah.
You have to have a car. Definitely.
Yeah, you made a LinkedIn post about that like last week or the week before. So let's talk about the car.
So the reason why I say that is because, so Cambridge as an example, I had to travel 2 hours there, 2 hours back, 3 times a week.
Gosh.
If I didn't have a car, it would have been incredibly challenging. Yeah. Yes, there's trains, but if the train gets cancelled, you know, it's not like it's the London Underground here. So car, critical.
Yeah.
And then after Cambridge, especially when I was at Southend, I was going M25, you know, to be able to get there. When I didn't have my car, I was running to the station every single time to get there. And then when I got to Southend, I had to run for about 30 minutes to be able to get to the training ground. So it was tough doing that when you don't have a car. And so for me, it just helps with the opportunities that you get. If you can have one, then you're able to broaden out your opportunities as a coach. And definitely I know it benefited me. And I know there are many coaches who would probably say the same thing around the journey.
It's such a little underrated kind of fact in a way, because like to go after what you're pursuing, you need to be able to get there, and it can just be as simple as traveling, isn't it? Like,
well, exactly. And what's really interesting along my journey is that I've now been able to get opportunities which are a lot closer home. So it started off where Cambridge was the furthest, and then they gradually started getting closer and closer to home to me. Oh. So on your doorstep, as an example, you may have on your doorstep a club, say Chelsea. You've got Chelsea on your doorstep, but maybe not going to be able to get to Chelsea, obviously, straight off the bat, be able to get there. But you may have to travel to a Portsmouth. You may have to travel to an Oxford. And then gradually, potentially, as you get those experiences, you then may get the opportunity at Chelsea, which is closer to home, if you're still there. So that's what I would say. And then definitely, you've got to have a mentor. You've got to have a mentor. I've definitely benefited from having mentorship throughout my time. And what I say to coaches is, don't just have one mentor, try and get 3, because it just speeds up that process of you being able to get experience and get feedback, and also question your preconceived ideas around coaching, and just also reaffirm certain things for you as well as you go along the pathway. So that's definitely something that I would say, and I've benefited from them. And we talked earlier around Dr. Misha Jervis, who was one for me, as well as Ian Hart, Hassan Sulaiman, and my very first club, Tim and Andy. So yeah, I've been very fortunate.
Yeah, I think as well, like, there's so much value in like human interactions. I sound like I'm breaking it down like really deep, but there's so much value in talking to different people and learning a different perspective, learning a different approach.
Yeah,
and then, I don't know, soaking up that information, then taking, okay, what do I like from that person's approach that I can add into mine? What do I like from that person? oh, that person said something and I never thought of it that way. I think that's my favorite moment in a conversation. If you tell me something, oh, I had no idea that was a thing. You learn something new every day, kind of. And yeah, I think the more people you speak to, the more value it adds to yourself and to your practice, yourself as a person and yourself as a practice. And it goes back to what I was saying about it's okay to find out what's not good. Sometimes you might talk to a person that you don't agree with how they do things. I'm talking not just in coaching. Or maybe they might believe in something a certain way and you're thinking, yeah, I don't agree with you. Not you're wrong but I just don't agree. And it's important to know that that's what you don't go with as well. Like,
yeah, and I think in coaching, ultimately, you will get to that point where you will see things and you'll say to yourself, actually, I don't agree with that. And now you've got to back it up and say, this is why I don't agree with it. But every coach has those moments, because ultimately you're in the game with your own ideas as well. And you don't want to just be following along and having your ideas, but not sharing them just because you're fearful of what may come back. You'll be surprised at what may come back. I remember a club I was at, and the academy manager said, you know, Temi, I didn't really agree initially with the way you were on the sideline to players, but when I was leaving, it was like, actually, I can see the benefit.
Okay. So let's talk about that kind of transition from grassroots. And so obviously you were at I'm really bad,
Hub Athletic. Yeah.
Hub Athletic.
Yeah.
You've done a bit of work with Cambridge
Centre of Excellence for girls. Yeah. And then went to Tottenham.
It was Tottenham first.
Yeah.
So you went on the internship to Tottenham.
Yes.
How valuable was that experience at the time?
Incredible. I absolutely loved my time at Tottenham. A lot of the coaches now are actually working at first team. Yeah. So like Kieran McKenna, Justin Cochran, Matthew Welsh, they're all at first team level. Even some of the analysts, like Woody, who was also on my B license, working at Chelsea now. But what I learned the most around Tottenham was just the level of excellence. It just opened my mind to, wow, okay, this is the level that you want to be able to coach at. And there were just so many things that challenged my perspective around coaching and the pathway that I'd gone down. So I remember when it was Justin Cochran did a session on adjusting angles. And I thought to myself...
Shoulder depth.
So that was Kieran McKenna.
Yeah,
when he was doing the shoulder depth one. That was, again, it's still to this day, there's no one else who's talked to that level of how many times you take... So the amount of times you can take a back foot touch and your shoulder depth as well.
So I was just trying to show that I watched your other show.
I appreciate it.
It was a great episode, by the way.
On the overlap with the guys, Harrison and Dr. Mir, they're brilliant
stuff, guys. But yeah, go on, continue. Sorry.
So I couldn't get my head around it because I was on my B license and we were talking about things like topics like, okay, attacking in wide areas with your fullback and your winger as an example, or it might be combining with the striker as a topic. So when he said adjusting angles, I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not quite getting this. He said, well, I watched the game. It was Arsenal with Ozil. And he said, I just saw Ozil moving 2 yards here, 3 yards here, as the ball was 30 yards away, 40 yards away. So that's what we're doing. Oh. And that opened my mind to be like, wow, okay, this is football. It's not just topics. This is what football is and how we're helping these young players to actually be professional football players and what's going to help them to get to the very top end of the game or wherever they will end up being, of course. So that really opened my mind. And then what was great is at the time, John McDermott, who's the academy manager, even though I was just on an apprenticeship, he got me every single month to give him a report on the amount of coaching that I'd been doing, but also what I'd seen in Tottenham as well, and give him that. Now, he didn't have to do that because he's the academy manager and he's managing obviously the whole setup. But doing that really helped me in terms of my self-reflection and to make sure I was keeping myself accountable to what I was doing. So knowing that someone was going to check every single month, I was like, even if I was tired, Tammy, you've got to get to that Saturday session. You've got to get your hours in and then present it back as well. So I think that was very good for my development.
Okay. How did it feel like as someone like that was your first foot. That was your first foot in the door in terms of the professional game, the professional setup. Like, and you said like the level of detail went, I don't know, went from here to here, sort of thing. Me personally, like, when there's so much information to process and so much like perspective challenging stuff, would you say, was there a part of you that felt a bit overwhelmed in a sense, or was there a part of you that was like relishing the challenge? Like, how did you feel when you were like, okay, this is...
Oh yeah, definitely overwhelmed. Definitely, Tarek. It was like, okay, I've got to do more. I've got to really study this, and even at times whereby, and this is the great thing about coaches. If there's another coach who comes, they won't just allow you to just stand there. At some point, they'll try and make sure you get involved. And so I remember I was watching the under-9s, and Ryan Hall, who's still there, fantastic coach, especially in the foundation phase. He said, "Oh yeah, Temi, you're going to take this now." It's like, oh okay. And I didn't have any, there wasn't anything planned, etc. I thought, okay, right, on the spot. Okay, we want to do this, and it was just helping me to understand you've got to be ready. You've got to prepare to be ready for those moments that may come where you've got to be able to step in and the coach says, right, can you do this? Can you lead this? And so that really helped me to always have my finger on the pulse.
Okay, so let's move a little bit forward in terms of you're a bit more established at that kind of academy setup. So at Tottenham, you were like learning, wow, there's this and this I need to do. There's this and this I need to be ready for. And obviously reflection. But now, let's say when you went towards Southend,
Fulham, and then Arsenal.
Fulham, Arsenal. You wasn't at West Ham, was you?
So I did some education there with the foundation. I led the education department there. So that was the charity side, but that was really good because I got to work with some of the players there as well.
Okay. Yeah. So when you were a bit more established, when you first started, actually, when you were like contracted in an academy role,
yes.
Were you with FDP or YDP?
YDP. So for those who don't know, it's the youth development phase, and I went straight in to be assistant under 16s at Southend, and I loved it. I loved it. The person who I worked with called Kingy, that was his nickname, Kingy. Brilliant, because he just thought differently about coaching. And what was great about it is that not only did he allow me to flourish and have my own ideas, and also challenge me as well. You know, he was an older coach in comparison. He was about 20 years my senior. And afterwards, after we'd finished, me, him, and there were two others in particular, Loris Coggins, who's now West Ham's on the 18s, and then someone called Kurt Husnu, who ended up being with Southampton and England. We would stay for sometimes an hour afterwards, just challenging each other, because they were also within the YDP as well, and just saying, no, I don't agree with you there, or yes, I agree with you here, or no, I think you should do this differently. And at the time, I didn't realize how much I had an impact, but it had a massive impact on challenging me as a coach in terms of my reflections, but also my delivery there and then. So I loved that time. And what was interesting is all four of us ended up within about 3 years afterwards being at Cat 1 academies.
Let's talk about the category system, actually.
Yeah.
So you've got Cat 1 to Cat 4.
Yes.
Cat 1 is best facilities.
Cat 1 is best facilities, budget. Usually the academies have, I think it's 1 million plus in terms of their budget. They've got a dome. They've got the most amount of staff members as well. The players also train the most at those academies as well. Okay.
How much more would a Cat 1 and 2 academy player train compared to a Cat 3 and 4?
It could be as much as 10 to 15 hours more a week once they start getting to the YDP phase, especially. And what you're seeing now is, if you like, even the higher end Cat 1s, you've got boarding schools.
Yeah.
So actually, the players are now during school. They've also got that, and the boarding school might be right next to the training ground. So they're getting a crazy amount of hours in relation. And that's why whenever I speak to grassroots players, before I used to talk to them about the technique and things of that nature. Now the first question I ask them is, how many hours are you doing? because ultimately that's what's going to set you apart is what's the volume cumulatively. Because if you're an under 12 and you're maybe doing, as a grassroots, you're maybe doing 6 hours a week, the same under 12 at Cat 1 is probably doing about up to even 30 hours if you, even when you start counting in one-to-ones and etc. They're playing a lot of football when you include game time as well. So it can be a lot of football.
You say that's the big difference between like an academy player, like YDP, FDP, and a grassroots player. Like the hours that they do, that's what.
Yeah, definitely. The hours, you just can't, it's not comparable. If someone your own age is doing 3 to 6 times more hours of training than you every single week, think about what that looks like over a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So one kind of like, this is me being selfish asking you something is obviously for academies you have like your audits.
Yeah.
And like to see
EPPP audits. Yeah.
Were you ever around when there was an audit at an academy? Like you kind of, I don't want to say it's the same, but like an Ofsted in school kind of situation. Were you ever around when an audit person came to?
Yes, rarely, but yes, and usually they'll just ask you question: how's, what do you do with training? What's your role here? Very basic.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's more so the SLT, if you like, the senior leadership team, who are really the ones leading on the audit.
Yeah. So you're not there worrying like, oh, I hope if they watch my session, I hope I do.
No, it's just making sure that my session plan is there. Because when they come, if my session plan isn't there, then you'll be pulled up.
I know that's a big thing. Like you need everything documented. Like you need like proof of this is what we're doing, and you need a record of it.
Yeah, you've got the PMA system, and that's another thing for anyone who wants to work in academies. You've got to understand that there's going to be a lot of work outside of it from a documentation point of view. So PMA Huddle, which is like an analysis platform. Now you've got Teamworks as well, which is a communication tool. So there's quite a number of things.
So now there's a topic I want to cover a little bit, and this topic kind of branches out into a few different things. So it's communication, and obviously communication as a coach is imperative. You've got to make your voice heard. Communication in day-to-day life is key. So first of all, let's talk about communication with your players. How do you communicate? Because obviously there's communication with what you say verbally and do this, do that, well done, or not so well done. Like, but then there's like body language and other little soft skills. Like, what are key aspects of communication as a coach?
What ages are you talking about? Because obviously
the ages you're experienced in, the ages you've worked
in. If we talk about youth development phase, then I would say, firstly, understand their why, understand what drives them. One of the questions I ask players is, even at age of, whether it's age 11 or it's age 15, what do you want to achieve in the game? What's your dream? And just reiterating that to them. So if an 11-year-old will say to me, okay, I want to play for Liverpool, but I also want to play for Real Madrid. Okay, when they come to training, do you see the Liverpool game? Who stuck out for you? What do you think? Are you learning a bit of Spanish? Can you say hola, etc.? Just really making sure that you're having that personal interaction with them and understanding what drives them, what's their why. Then you also have to understand their background. So your language may change in terms of the words that you use depending on who you're talking to. So someone who's grown up in maybe what one would consider the estate, etc., they may use a particular type of language or slang that you can say, oh yeah, I know what you said there, and they'll look at you shocked. You're like, really? and so I think that really helps as well, understanding that, and then there's also jokes that you can have. So if you see, for example, two players who really are competitive with one another, oh, do you see what he did there? Oh, do you think you can? So there's that level of communication that you can also have with the players in a jovial way, and then the players who you can push in a different way, where you can tell them a bit more directly, and they may say to you, okay, this is what I prefer if you talk to me directly here. And then one of the things that probably isn't covered as much is those who are neurodiverse. So there is a player who I had ADHD as an example, and he preferred just having one coach speak to him separately as opposed to group. He found it a bit difficult. He would always have a ball at his feet and moving the ball, and sometimes that could be distracting for the other players, but it was helping to understand his level of communication. But one actually, which was I didn't expect, was I also had a player who was from a gypsy family and didn't learn how to read or write. And so he had to, so as to not make it that he felt embarrassed, we'd almost do the work with him before he got into, we got into the room with the rest of the team. So when he was in the room, he felt, I already know what's going to be happening. And he felt calm being in the room. And it wasn't a case of, okay, you're now going to go with the coach separately, etc. Here, actually, you already know what's happening. So that really helped for him as well. So that's what I would say. And then when it comes to body language, players do feed off of you, and a skill of a coach is showing that continued passion as much as possible, but also just being honest with them when maybe you've made a mistake as a coach, which of course we will do so, and being very frank with them, saying, look, I probably made the wrong decision here. Boys, girls, players, look, I'll try and do better next time, and having that back and forth with them in terms of communication.
I think that humanizing aspect of accountability is so important.
Yeah.
I think showing these young people that you can make mistakes and not get things right, and you're not this perfect person that's made it to a later stage in life compared to them that knows everything. So it's a really good way to reel it back in.
Yeah.
What about okay, so with other coaches, you challenge each other, or you agree, disagree. What about with other departments in the academy that you like? Obviously in a Cat 1 where you're going to be working with more people.
Yeah.
How is communication there? Like,
so one of the things I always say to those who want to work within the academy is get to speak to those in other departments, because traditionally, if someone is in maybe the sports science or even sports psychology, people don't usually speak to them as much as the coaches, but they've got so much value, of course, that they bring to the club. And I really enjoyed always speaking with them, saying, okay, what are you doing here? How is this integrating with what we're doing? How can I help you and support you more? And one of the best times that I had was working with a sports psychologist at Fulham, where he would actually be with me on the pitch. So it wasn't in a room where it's like, okay, players, you need to go to a sports psychologist in this room here. He was next to me on the pitch, and we worked really well together. And it translated, I could see how it translated to the pitch, what he was doing and what he was focusing on. But he could also check and challenge me in terms of my behavior as well as a coach, which I don't think we get from a sports psychologist perspective. It's always maybe retrospective, but not on the pitch live where you're seeing your actual behaviors.
Yeah. What was that like, reflecting, having your behaviors and the little things you do, like, watched and reflected on?
It was powerful.
Yeah.
It was powerful, yeah, because you remember it more. And I actually had a chance to speak with some master's sports psychologist students recently. And that's one of the things I said to them. I said to them, get out on the pitch, try, if possible, try not to wear your jeans and etc. Try and be in the kit as well, if you can, and just be alongside the coaches, understand their world. And I think that really will help for a coach, because all we usually used to is, okay, your session, this is what you could do here, this is what you could do in a session plan. But actually, in terms of your actual delivery of when you communicate, how you communicate, not just during a session, but outside of a session, that can really benefit. And having those individual interactions too, it's great having a sports psychologist next to you to be able to help you with that and for you to develop even further.
Yeah, that's a different perspective, different visions.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna. There's a question I want to ask, but I'm gonna come back to this communication theme.
Yeah.
So the question I have is, how big is the pressure as a coach in an academy setting?
So, of course, it's an elite talent pathway, and you have to deliver to a certain standard each time, because ultimately you want to give the best to the players, and there is that pathway to try and help them as much as possible to progress to be a professional football player, whether it be at your club or otherwise. So preparation is key. I think for me, you don't necessarily feel the pressure if you're well prepared. If you're not well prepared, then of course the players will recognize, other people will recognize, maybe coaches and otherwise, and you're unnecessarily putting yourself in the firing line to, if you want to say firing line. I would definitely say just prepare as much as possible before you get there. Okay. And that means you're not pressured on anything, because you know what you're doing, you know how you're going to interact with the players, but most importantly, enjoy it as well. I don't think, look, it's football at the end of the day. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's football, and so you're just teaching them how to have even better understanding of how to interact in the game of football and how to be more successful in the game of football. And of course, we love it as coaches, so it's not tough. Yeah, it's a simple game. It's a simple game. What isn't simple is trying to keep it simple. That's what I realized at the beginning when I first started my journey, is that I was trying to do everything, to cover every single coaching point and all that type of stuff. But as I gradually started coaching over the years, I realized just keep it simple. That's what the players want. Give them simple information that they can understand. And then actually what you need to do is notice more. Is actually take the time to observe and notice more. And that's why I say to coaches, first 3 minutes that you're delivering, just sit back, have a look, assess. Are they practicing game realistic movements? Is there something I need to change? Do I need to increase the size, reduce the size? Is there a certain movement which they are actually doing and I need to praise immediately so they see what good looks like, and go from there?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I got so like into what you were saying that I'm like,
let's get on the pitch.
A quick one-to-one session. Manage my team. No, but what I wanted to get into as well is obviously preparation is key, but as we know, working with young people, no day is ever the same. Yeah. So when things aren't quite executed, when you plan a session and maybe players might not all players, but maybe a lot of players some players might not be taking in what you're trying to get out of that session, what you're trying for them to get out of that session, or maybe the session didn't run as smoothly, or maybe it was just like a tougher day at the office. How do you deal with that when it doesn't go well, or it doesn't go in the way you envisioned?
I'll throw that question back at you. What's going well? What does going well look like? And it's a bit rhetorical, but
okay. But you want an honest answer?
go on. You give an answer if you want to.
Well, if we're talking in terms of here right now and a bit of reflection, I'm like, I'm a cool guy. I'm looking at the camera. I'm keeping it together. I'm trying to like keep that conversation while evoke that depth. Like, it's like, what's going well? Conversation's flowing.
So like, I think so. As an example, what may be going well is a player who's travelled for 2 hours to get to training, and they've got there 30 minutes late, but actually they've still got there. Yeah. That's part of what goes well. Okay. Do you know what I mean? I think it's starting to broaden out away from just the session. It may be a player who's managed to manage their emotions a bit better, but you understanding what challenging time they're having at home, as an example. So as a coach now, it's considering more than just what's happening on the pitch, in the sense of the session that you envisage in your mind. Now, when it comes to sessions, it's got to reflect the game, so it's got to look chaotic. And on the outside, it may look like, what's happening here? But that's the game. And you've got to prepare players for different problem solutions that they need to have in their arsenal. Now, we as coaches, and I've been guilty of this many, many times, we tend to forget maybe what we've taught the players 12 weeks ago, but actually it may be at that point the player actually starts to get that particular thing. But our focus for that session may be on something, of course, something completely different, but it's still success. And so we have to recognize, okay, there's the outcomes of this session that we're looking to try to achieve, but recognize as well something we did weeks ago that players now started to realize and recognize and do more consistently, and also praise that. So it comes back to my point that I was mentioning about noticing and the art of noticing, which I think coaches, we need to do a lot more of, and be slow to speak and quick to look, to be able to recognize, okay, what's actually happening here. And for me, I will always put it back on myself. How have I actually communicated this practice? Is it the first time they're doing this practice? Because if it's the first time, my expectations can't be up here.
Yeah.
It's the first time they're doing the practice. I've got to make sure it's as simple as possible for them to get playing, and then I can incrementally increase what's happening or change what's happening. And then the other thing is just ask the players. Ask the players, do you think what we're trying to get out of this practice, do you think you can see it coming out? What can help that to come out a bit more regularly than we've seen already? And the players, they're smart enough. Yeah. They'll let you know.
When did it become like, I mean, I'm sure there was always an element of it, like based on how you are as a person, but when did that empathetic side of off the pitch and worrying about how the things off the pitch you're talking about, when did that become an important factor in your practice and in like noticing those little details?
I think the first two experiences I had, and I think there's, of course, everyone faced it in their life, but both of them related to deaths. Oh. And I think that's where it really highlighted to me that, okay, it isn't about this session. It's actually about they've been able to get here. They're still here, and they are engaging with their teammates. So the first example was when I was at Hub Athletic, the first team. One of the players, I recognized that they weren't playing as well as I knew they could, and I started getting onto them. And then one of the players said to me, "Look, Temi, his friend just got murdered." And I was like, that immediately just changed my whole perspective, of course. And so for me, it was the fact that he was still there. And I said, "You're here?" And he said, "Yeah, because it gives me, it's just helping me to be here." And I was like, wow. And then the second example was at Cambridge, whereby one of the players had dad unfortunately committed suicide, and the mum obviously would come to bring her to training. But even though she probably wasn't the best player and was due to be released, she was kept on for a whole another year to keep things as normal as possible. And I think that just really centered for me that we've got to consider the outside a lot more than focus and hone in on the session like I used to.
So those two what have those two experiences done? Obviously they made you realize a thing, but what did they do as well in terms of like how you approach things after those two experiences? Do you like keep an eye out on how someone acts or how someone does something?
Definitely. Yeah. I'd be a lot more cognizant of it, I think, earlier in my days of coaching because of those experiences going forwards. And I would be as intentional as possible to speak to the players around what's happening beyond the typical "how was school?"
Yeah. You
end up getting a one-word answer. It's not a question I like. I don't like asking "how was school?" because you would just get, "Oh yeah, good." That's it. Ask something more. What's something you learned today that you really enjoyed? How's your baby sister getting on now? Oh, you play the piano on Sundays. What's that like? What's your favorite song that you play? How are you developing there? So that gives a greater expanse of understanding who they are and what's happening in their life at that particular point in time.
So this leads on nicely to something I wanted to ask you, is how do you balance that individual relationship you have with a player, but then also their development as a footballer? How do you balance those two things?
They're hand in hand. Yeah, they're hand in hand. And ultimately, when they feel as though you know them as an individual and you are respecting of their background and how they are as a person, you'll get a happier player, a player who's joyous to be there, who feels as though this coach has my back.
Yeah.
And then you'll see that on the pitch.
And so when it comes to what about when it comes to uncomfortable conversations as well?
Do you know? Again, I learned this very early on in my journey when I was at Cambridge. I was in retain and release meeting, and I was to speak first to one of the players who was due to be released, and I kept it all positive. Yeah. And then the other coach came alongside and said, sorry, this is actually part of the reality. And afterwards she said to me, look, Temi, we've got to be honest when we're having these conversations. And at that point I realized, okay, when it comes to retain and release meetings, next time I will be honest in these parents' evenings, because ultimately you don't give the player or the parent a fair understanding of where we are and where they are at that particular point in time. Doesn't mean they're not going to make it as a professional football player or progress forwards, but just at the club at that particular point in time. And then another example was when we had a player who wanted to play in a certain position. I told him, look, be honest, you're not the best player in that position in the squad, and he was an under 15 at the time. And me and the other coach said to him, we think you should try this position instead, which was right back. So you're really good on the ball here. We think you with your qualities that you have, you'll be able to do quite well there. And we left it up to the player and said, look, it's up to you. You can make a decision. And afterwards, the player thought about it, came back and said, I'm going to do it. Ended up being able to get his scholarship 2 years later in that position.
Yeah.
Obviously, they all don't work out that way, but those are just examples.
Yeah, but it's part and parcel of the game, isn't it? Like, just different outcomes, different conversations.
Yeah.
Yes, it's mind blowing, this stuff. Like, and I feel like I'm freezing up a little bit. Bear with me. You know what? Let me deviate away from this then.
Yeah, go for it.
Let me get some feedback and some reflection. How do you feel this is going? This conversation, sitting down here, making your way down to Lovely Said Studio and whatnot. How's that going for you? How do you feel so far? Firstly,
you are a brilliant host.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You asked some great questions. Mo's done a fantastic setup here for us. Like I said, Joe Rogan. This looks like Joe Rogan here. It made me feel extra special. So thank you. It's been great. Just talking about football. Where I always go to if there's ever those kind of moments like you talk about potentially where one freezes is, who's your favourite player?
Yeah.
Who do you love seeing, and who, no matter how many times you see on YouTube, you just smile again and again and again?
Definitely.
Who's yours?
Good question. I don't know. Obviously Ronaldinho was cool.
Yeah.
Like Neymar as well, because Neymar was kind of that embodiment in a way.
Yes, I
think he achieved it at a bit of a more consistent, higher level. I think he's done it a bit longer. Whether he's better
than Ronaldinho, yeah.
No, I mean, I just mean playing at that high level, not being better. Like, Ronaldinho done it for 3-4 years. Neymar, 2 years. Neymar done it for however, like maybe 4 years, sort of thing.
The Brazilians don't tend to have that longevity.
No,
apart from Cafu and Roberto Carlos.
Yeah.
Gilberto Silva, I think those, they definitely did.
My favourite player, probably, you know what, just because I saw him in the youth setup, I was watching him from under 17s to now. It's a random one, but I love watching Sancho.
It's not random. He's a quality player.
I feel like with Sancho now, I feel like I don't know, I feel like we've got a player that's so good at these different things and he's not able to express himself as to his fullest.
Like Borussia Dortmund, him and Haaland and Bellingham, it was
they were having fun out
there. It was, you know what I mean? It's like when you're in cage football, you're like, these three again?
Yeah. Like Man United, it wasn't really like that. And at Chelsea, there's moments, but
there are moments at Chelsea. He's still got time, and he's hoping. He went back again, didn't he?
To Dortmund.
Yes, and he
found that joy again.
He found the joy again, and he was in Champions League final.
Yeah.
So maybe Dortmund is actually his place.
I know. I hope he finds that joy and he plays as well as as I've seen him, like from the academy level and under 17s to like his Dortmund career. But do
you know the reality? I think is that sometimes, of course, we enjoy the Premier League and players want to play in the Premier League, but as we've seen with Bellingham, I don't even know if we will see Bellingham in the Premier League.
No chance.
He could be a legend at Real Madrid. But then you look at Tomori, who, of course, yes, he was at Chelsea, but he's gone and he's doing fantastic at AC Milan. You see
Lookman.
who here it was like, oh, it's not really happening for him. But then he goes and he's African Player of the Year for 2024 and scores, for Atlanta, winning them the Europa League.
Yeah.
So I do think that for some players, and maybe it's from even the young ages, just making them to know, do you know what? Yes, it's a Premier League, but you might actually go and be a top player in another league. And I remember I was reading about Gareth Bale, and he was told by a scout at 16, go and study Spanish because you're going to play in the Spanish league. And obviously, he went and was part of the great BBC of Bale, Benzema, and Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, no, it was a great time, and it was rare at that time because I always wanted to see British players succeed abroad.
But Steve McManaman, the player, he was top abroad. Paul Ince, again, top abroad as well. So there are players who've done it.
No, there definitely was, but I wanted to see more. Like the same way you'd see like a lot of Spanish players play here.
Yeah.
Like,
do you think? But that's part of the culture, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, it's very, this generalizing a lot, but I don't think we travel as well from Britain to other countries.
Nah, we don't.
And especially language.
Nah, language is where we're weaker. Well, as not individually, but like in the schools. Like if you go to Germany, like they speak. You can
they're bilingual. Yeah. They're all bilingual because they all speak in English.
But like you can't come here as a foreigner and expect the English people to speak your language. Like that's kind of. But yeah. So reeling it back, you helped me a lot there just now. So
we just talk football.
Yeah. So going back to that communication. Parents. One is obviously there's how you communicate with parents.
Yes.
How in your experience, like between grassroots and academy, do you think parents behave differently? Like if they're out there to watch their child play in their Sunday league team compared to watching them play, like compared to watching a parent watching their child play in underage matches, whatever? So
obviously a parent's parent in the sense that they want their kids to enjoy themselves firstly and do as well as possible. Yeah. And you want to encourage that, of course, as much as possible. And one of the things I will say is I do think that parents can be appreciated more in academies. They do a lot of mileage. They sacrifice a lot, of course. And not just them, but the family in general. If you've got other children who have to come alongside as well, having a sibling who's playing. One of the things I will say, just from my experiences with talking with grassroots parents, is that obviously they don't know the level, but whenever some parents say to me, oh yeah, my son and my daughter, the first one I'll say is, okay, do you really understand the level when you're at an academy? Because sometimes especially those who've maybe had the opportunity to go on trial, they're a bit concerned at as how quick it happens that they get a trial and then they're out of the academy. It's because the level is so high. It's incredibly high. And that's where I think sometimes the dissonance is at grassroots. Now, in the academy, of course, as you start getting to the late YDP phase, at the Cat 1s especially, there's a lot of money on the line. Yeah. It can be when they sign their first pro contract. You could be getting paid as much as 15 grand, some 25 grand a week at the age of 17. And obviously that's going to be life-changing. So that's one thing that is, of course, for parents who have not been in a household or been able to bring in that type of money, it can mean a lot for the family. And it's trying to help them through that. And we talked about Marcia, obviously Mars Lewis Skelly's mother, and what she's doing. And I think having resources that she's providing, and obviously the insight that she's providing as someone of a son who's been able to be successful to this point, is critical to help parents to understand, okay, this journey is long, it can change at any point. And just helping your son, your daughter, to just enjoy that part of their childhood, because they want to be able to look back and say, do you know what? Even if I didn't make it, which 90% won't within academies, I still had a really enjoyable time, and it set me up in a good way for certain things that I've learned as being part of an academy.
Yeah, I think the resources that those kinds of places provide, like number one fan club that Marcia runs.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's others out there, other kind of companies that I don't know the name of.
So
like,
Kaizen is one. When I was at Fulham, Kaizen did some workshops with parents.
Kaizen, I think he's like a player care mentor, right?
Kaizen, it's an organization.
No, okay, I'm thinking of someone on my link. So I'm on that mode so much. Yeah. Go on, tell me about Kaizen.
So they did a workshop, which I wasn't there because I was coaching at the time, but I thought this was an excellent workshop around how you, as a parent who's not talented, not talented in the sense that at anything, but not talented in this area, can help a child who is talented in this area. And I thought that was really interesting in terms of supporting parents, especially because many parents just don't understand what it takes, of course, to be a professional football player because they've never gone through that. And so just helping them to understand how to navigate that, and having a son or daughter who is talented and making sure that they are supported and giving that additional support and additional information for the parents is great.
Yeah, especially because like there's so much into it. Like you want the best for your child. You want them to play football and keep playing football and do it. Like it's like in a way like a triangle. Like you've got the side where you want them to make it and they get the contract, make money, whatever. You want them to. As a parent, you just want them to be happy and enjoy what they're doing. But
it's a brutal industry in the sense that if you're not performing, all of a sudden you could find yourself out the door at the end of the season, and then it could be hard to get another club, or another club might be in another part of the country which is 5 hours away, and then you may have to potentially travel abroad to then get your next opportunity. I was talking to someone yesterday who had played professionally, and he played for 20 different clubs, and he's been in 5 different countries. Now, think about, of course, at some point you'd want a family. How are you going to manage that when you now have a family as well? Yeah. And so that also isn't talked about, how you navigate that. And footballers move around quite a bit, especially nowadays. You don't see many footballers now spending 5, 6, 7, 8 years at the same club as you did before. You'll see players maybe moving on after 4 seasons potentially. I don't know what the average time is, but in management, especially if we're talking about coaching, in management, it's about 10 months.
Yeah.
So think about it, if you've got to move every 10 months, or every 2 years because of the opportunities.
Yeah, nice. It's true. It's a lot of transitions. So then, I mean, so this is a big issue that young people face that come from that academy environment. It's obviously how each academy runs things and what their culture is different. So I'm not going to comment on say it's like it fits every academy, but like there's a lot of players that will come out the system that will lack that identity. I've met a few personally. They get released, and then it's like you were George the footballer, the kid that was good at footballer, the kid that was good at football, and suddenly you're out of. You got released from QPR. You're the best player in your school, and everyone looks up to you in a way because you're really good at football, and suddenly you're not, and you lose that. It's
tough,
and it's such a prominent issue around. I wouldn't just say football. I'd say just any sport where, in elite sport, where if you don't make the cut, you kind of lose that sense of yourself.
I think this is where a strong family foundation is key. Just say, do you know what? We love you no matter what happens here. This is just part of what your life is at this point in time, to enjoy the sport that you love. And I definitely think this is where, of course, player care comes in, and we've talked about this a lot already off camera around the support that players need leading up to that point. And it may not necessarily be their release because they are deemed not good enough at that club. It could be an injury. I know players who actually they were going to make it, but they got an injury, and that's it. They just couldn't. They couldn't get over that injury. And that was why they had to then step out of the game. And I think it's really important to help players develop life skills alongside what they're doing. So
100%.
we of course previously talked about languages.
Yeah.
If they want to go and travel after the time of being at a club, you can go travel and you can speak another language and you can actually enjoy another part of the world because of it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's helping to set up them as people in life in general. And I think academies can do that, and academies are doing that.
Yeah.
When I was at Fulham, we had careers in football come in, speak to the players who are under 11s, bearing in mind they're under 11s, but talk to them about other careers in football. And those under 11s are now in the youth team, and there are some of them who aren't at clubs.
Yeah.
And that reality is they're being faced with at the moment now.
Yeah. So because I think the more emotion there is towards a certain part of your identity, so let's say the footballer part, the harder it's gonna hit you when it doesn't go well, I believe.
Yeah.
Like if you have a bad if you have a bad game, like because you're so immersed in that and you're not compartmentalizing yourself as well as you can, but then you're a young person, so that's
exactly. It's all you know. And I think, of course, as you grow older, there hopefully will become a wider understanding of, okay, what could happen here. And case in point, Kieran McKenna, he was playing for Tottenham, but then got injured, and he was going to play professionally, but then 22, 23, he's going to coaching, and obviously now he's become a successful manager. And there are other stories like that, where there are others who maybe don't stay in the game but go elsewhere. There's, what's his name now, Dean Forbes, who's become a billionaire. He played for Crystal Palace, but he ended up not being successful. He had friends who ended up having a successful career. He ended up going into IT and tech, and obviously has become one of the most significant people in this country around tech, and so there can be another route if you have that support and if you decide to take that up.
I mean, success shouldn't be defined. I mean, like the aim of an academy is to produce footballers, of course, like to an extent, but success shouldn't be defined producing footballers.
Of course, and one of the things I now frame it as is that ultimately academies will produce majority of higher level grassroots players, because the majority of those who are in the academies will end up spending majority of their time playing in grassroots or maybe Sunday league football, and that's just the reality of the numbers.
One stat that I saw at one of these number one fan events, was 50%. Look at the camera, like with chest, 50% of players in the academy aren't there by the age of 16.
Yeah,
and like there was another one, like only 9% or 1% make a senior appearance, not a senior career, a senior appearance. Yes, and that could be like being subbed on with 2 minutes to go in a game, and that's like 1%. Like, it just shows how like tight the margins are, really. Like,
well, I was always told that it's success if there are 2 players who go into the first team each year.
But is that
from the academy?
That's success, but then that's out of how many players? Like,
exactly. That's an incredible amount of players. That is your 1%, your 2%. And so ultimately, academies are there to help players to develop skill sets, which may give them the opportunity, but develop the skill sets whereby they can take that onto the rest of their life. And one of the things I have seen is people who end up going into other aspects of life, they do have a certain level of standards and excellence in which they approach what they do because of what they've learnt from academy, and they've been able to translate it to that.
So going back to identity a little bit, and I talked about identity and stuff like that. I'm fascinated by identity, if you haven't got that impression. What's Temisan's identity? You got loads of different versions of you. Let's talk about your identity, how you identify yourself.
Yeah. So firstly, as a Christian, that's my core identity, and then as a husband, a father, as a brother, friend, and football, of course. Love football. Love and I've started to love a lot more just the art of negotiation.
Negotiation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Talk to me.
Well, so I was listening to a book, and it basically said that everything we do is sales.
Okay.
So whether it's negotiating of, oh, I want this to eat today or that to eat today, with whoever it might be, or a case of if you're going for a job, you're selling yourself in terms of CV or whatever, or you're trying to sell a product, etc. I said everything is sales, and so I've started to get quite fascinated with the art of negotiation.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, definitely I've become a real passionate person around LinkedIn. I wasn't before. Like, I would just post on LinkedIn every so often, but for the last year, I felt like I found a gold mine when it comes to social media, because there's not many people who I think really understand how to utilize LinkedIn to its fullest potential, like 100%. YouTube and Instagram and X and TikTok. I still think a lot of people are behind the curve on LinkedIn. And 100%. I heard a stat the other day that 99% of people on LinkedIn just consume and post. And don't post, just consume, but only 1% actually are actively posting consistently.
Part of that 1%.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, no, LinkedIn's a crazy platform, because it's like, it's so different to your generic. It's like, it's a social media platform at its core.
But there's all professionals on there. Yeah, it's not. There's professionals on there, of course. And you just know everyone is about, on LinkedIn, everyone is about just trying to encourage each other to be better. Yeah. That's the sense that I get on LinkedIn. And so I'm never like, this is rubbish. Yeah. So do you know what I mean? Why is this being posted on here? Everything's actually quite insightful and causes some good conversation and causes you to think deeply. So I really like LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, me too. It's been, like, without exaggerating, it's been fairly life-changing, because it's changed my approach to how I do things and how I...
It's got us together. It's got us together.
We're here today. Let's talk a bit about, because obviously LinkedIn networking. Yeah. You know, LinkedIn's a big part of networking, and obviously you've got your Coaches Accelerator or Acceleration?
Accelerator.
Okay. Yeah. Coaches Accelerator,
which we're helping program. For them to have acceleration.
Yeah. So, like, let's talk about first of all the importance of networking in coaching. Like,
so.
Oh, actually, wait. Sorry.
Go for it.
What is networking? Because as I say, I like catching people these questions, because sometimes it's like one answer is slightly different from the other. What is networking, first of all? Like,
networking is a mutual adding of value together in a relationship. That's how I see networking. That's the best version of networking. Not just what can I get for you? What can I get for you? No, it's a mutual added of value. And this is what I say to coaches who are on my Coach Accelerator, is that your qualifications are your dress code, but your network is your ticket. And that is the reality within football. And I realized that even more, not just from seeing my journey, because the first 3 opportunities that I got was through mentorship and networking, but the interviews that I've had with professionals in the game, from first team, from pre-academy through to first team, pretty much 75% of their journeys have been, and opportunities that they got have been through networking. Yeah. So when I see coaches really frustrated that they haven't got a role because they've been sending out CVs, I don't say that don't send a CV, but what I say is your scales are wrong. Yeah. Because if effectively you've got to network 3 times as much as you actually do an application, but you're doing 10 times as much CV and applications than networking, of course you're going to be frustrated.
Yeah, no, it's a tough world out there, and it's who you know and stuff like that. And
but you know what?
Yeah, go on.
Just on that, and I question that, because people say it's tough. It's not. Do you know the reason why I say it's not tough? It's because when you actually network, you open up yourself to more opportunities than if you just pinpoint it to when a job's going to come out. If you network, you find the hidden opportunities that are there that people who aren't networking don't find. And because so many coaches who I speak to are not networking, even surprise, at top level, you have really given yourself a better opportunity to get an opportunity. Yeah. And so for me, it's actually not the toughest it's tough if you feel as though you are just focusing on what you can get. And this is one of the things I always say is think first of how you can add value to people.
Yeah.
Which is why one of the first questions I always ask is, how can I help you? And people are always stumped by it. But genuinely, I mean, how can I help you? Because there's a way that I can help you. And if I can, I will do so. And even for coaches who feel they have nothing to add, well, say, okay, well, think about a coach who maybe they are also doing a degree, just for argument's sake. Say they're doing a degree. Okay, ask them, can I read your paper? Or do you need someone to be interviewed for what you're doing? Or can I do something, help you administratively for something that you need? Very simple.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I see it.
Yeah, I think when I say big and tough, I don't mean because it's big and tough, because I think there's a beauty in it. I think, it's great to meet, let's say, CEO of this club, and it's cool to be like, oh, I met him and he gave me some advice. But I think the beauty of it is the friendships you can build from it, and like what you learn.
Exactly.
I like that interaction, that connection, that. Obviously, there might be some people that you network with that they're cool on a professional bit and they give you great advice, but we're not going to get on with everyone. But I think the beauty of it is like that, like coming across each other and meeting and understanding and getting these ideologies, and then being able to help each other in the future when one needs it. Like,
and do you know what? One of the things that I've started to realize as the more and more I've really upped my networking and connected with people is that people just want to be appreciated for what they
100%,
for who they are and what they can bring. And you'll be surprised at what people are doing in the background that they feel they question, can I really share this? Or what do people think about this? Or how do I put these in front of X, Y, and Z person? And I think that's something that's really started to come to the forefront of the networking that I've been doing.
And I think people that with network, they're interested in your journey. They want to see you, like, from here, what you do to get there, what you do to get here, to when you get to the place you do your ideal outcome, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And like then there's people that have gone through, because I've spoken to many people now at this point in like player care, which is what I'm interested in. Like, and I'm sure you have as well. Like when you were like when you speaking to other coaches, it's like they helped you and they're happy to, because they were where you were. And then it's like when you get to that point where you want to be, whatever you perceive that as, you'll be able to help other people because you're grateful for the help that other people gave you. And then it's like this like beautiful cycle of like, you get there, you learn from other people, you might or might not get there yourself, but you get to a level of satisfaction where you can help other people. I don't know. What do you think of that, or am I just like rambling?
No, it's not at all. And it's the ladder effect, isn't it? It's helping others, pulling them up the ladder, ultimately. And everyone's got a story to tell. And if you're willing to take time to listen, then you'll be able to find out how you can help.
I think one person that I networked with, they were like saying they like speaking with me. Great guy, but
you are.
But they liked how personal I was with them.
Yeah.
Like as in like I didn't go, what's your day to day like? What's your this like? What's your that like? It was like, how did you do it? What did you do? What did you do to get to where you want to be? What do you know what I mean? What is your
do you know why? Because we are so used to, when we introduce ourselves, we're so used to saying, oh, so what do you do? That's always usually the first question. So we identify ourselves so much by what we do, instead of saying, oh, hi, how you doing? What value do you hold, which you'd like to share with me? That's a different question that really now is taken to the heart of who you are as a person. And so I do think that we need to look at how we phrase our questions and what questions we ask.
I think though, if people watch and listen to this, obviously we're great examples, but like on a serious note though, I think if we had a world where like people continued like with this open-mindedness and this like wanting to learn about others, I think it's in the career route of things, whatever it is, we can make a lot of progress and build like this amazing community that LinkedIn has kind of built for me. Like I posted something about going to Colchester United. I got some really nice comments from people I've never met before.
Exactly.
Sounds like, I really hope you make it. Like, I
Yeah.
really hope you get that role in the future.
Do you know what your
And I
role
was
is
like-
there is now? Is to follow up with those people.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah,
It's on camera, so
I'll definitely be following up. But no, it's amazing. Like that kind of community feel of it, and
yeah,
like it makes everything feel like less of a competition. Like in a way, obviously we're competing with each other. Okay, not like directly, but I mean, like let's say you're going for the same role, you're competing, but like it doesn't have to be competition. You're just going for the same things. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Networking it's a game changer. So as we start to like close up and stuff like that, first of all, any shout outs you want to give, anyone you want to shout out, anything you want to shout out?
That's a really good question. I would actually just want to shout out to those who think that it's impossible to get there. It's not. You just need the steps and the strategy to do so. And you'll be surprised at how far you can get when you do that consistently.
Love it. And what's I know you've given bits of advice throughout this conversation, but one key bit of advice for young people trying to break into elite sport, whether it's coaching, whether it's analyst, whether it's whatever it is, what's one key takeaway they can learn from you?
Definitely the two has to be get a mentor, and also network like crazy. Just network, and find out what value you can provide.
Okay. And then another question I'm going to ask you now is, what's one thing you've learned from here today, having this conversation with me? It could be something minuscule, like anything, but like, would you say there's something you learned?
I've learned how to ask better questions.
Yeah? What, from today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I'll take that.
Definitely. You've threw some questions there that made me think, that's a really good question, actually. I'd like to always be surprised in that way, make me think differently. So, how to ask better questions.
Okay, and would you say you've enjoyed this conversation altogether? Like
we're gonna do a round 2.
Say no more. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Okay. Well, honestly, man, thank you so much for taking your time out to come and to speak with me.
Thank you for having me.
Big up to production for making me look crisp, making Temisan look crisp. And it's always a pleasure to learn these different types of journeys and have these different types of conversation. And one last question: any future plans, any long-term goals that you're looking to reach now?
So my long-term goal is to build my Coach Accelerator community and support coaches globally who want to work in academy and elite football. All
right, sharing everything you've learned from other people. That cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Temisan. It was an absolute pleasure, and here's to round 2, man.
Absolute pleasure, Tariq. Thank you very much. Thank you. Pleasure being here.
Subscribe, comment, follow us up on the LinkedIns. I'll put them in the description somewhere. And have a good day. And once again, like, subscribe, big love, people. Take it easy.